introduction of who you are and what it is that you're like currently doing. What's your like job? Doesn't have to be if you have multiple jobs, not all of them, just the relevant one. um, anyway, Lauren, you're first on my screen, so if you want to go first.
Okay, I'll go first. My name's Lauren, and I'm an illustrator and an artist, and currently my job is mostly doing markets. I sell my art at markets and through my online store, and I also do some commission and client-based work to supplement, but most of my income currently comes from doing markets. I pretty much do them weekly. That's where I'm at.
Nice. And Gina, you're next on my screen, so you can go next.
Alrighty. Well, my name's Gina, she, they, and I'm a comic book artist writer based on Ghanaland, Adelaide. And so I have just finished and sent off, I mean, there's still like the tail end editing bits of my first graphic novel, which is going to be published next year by Penguin Random House here in Australia and Random House Graphic in the US, as well as, thank you, US and Canada, under other, like Puffin and Tundra, I think, and UK and Canada, sorry. Anyway, many places. It will be published. It will be good. It has mostly been done, but it's taken me a good 10 years to get to this point. So, great. Haven't really earned good money from that, if you're going from a practical money point of view. Workshops with young people, predominantly making and teaching comics. So, yeah.
Nice. Thanks, Gina. All right, Chi, you're next on my screen, so you go next.
Oh, hello, my name is Chi. I'm currently working full-time as an illustrator graphic designer at Motion by Design. It's a video agency company. My role is to illustrate storyboards for animated explainers and marketing campaigns. And also I'm from Vietnam. I came here like 7 years ago. Yeah.
Nice. Thanks,
That's all about me.
And then Mitch.
Yeah. I'm Mitch. Sorry, I had to mute because my fan was going wild. Yes, I am an illustrator animator. I'm working on a theatre production at the moment and an arts rebrand for, rebrand for an arts organisation. And I'm also teaching and doing course development stuff at UniSA for animation illustration.
This sounds about right. We're all...
And workshops as well.
Yeah, I was about to say, I feel like everyone that ends up in the illustration animation, like desiring to be an illustrator animator, ends up with like a million jobs at once.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. I feel like specifically Mitch, you're one that I'm like, oh, but then I have to look at myself and go, oh, sorry. That being said, though, I know most of you did uni, but like, so I guess first question is, how exactly did you get your start, like, building up the skills to potentially turn it into a job, like uni or hobby or whatever it is that you did, like, to begin the process of getting here? Yeah.
Well, for me, I did the illustration animation UniSA course, and then I've just pretty much worked retail jobs since I was 15 up until like 6 months ago to support myself financially while I created work and developed products that I could sell. Art and illustration, I guess, has always been my hobby, and uni did help me to develop some of those skills as an illustrator. I also did some graphic design, client-based work more straight out of uni, but then I sort of decided that I don't like working with clients that much, and I wanted more so to just sell my own work. So yeah, I guess the job that influenced me a lot was I worked at Have You Met Charlie, some of you may know what that is, which is a gift shop in Adelaide. It was in the Adelaide Arcade, but it closed, and that's why I don't work there anymore. But I got to build a lot of connections with other local artists and people who were selling prints and all that sort of thing. So that allowed me to see how it was done a little bit, and that helped me to learn how to start making my own prints and start selling them and that sort of thing. So that's what led me down that path a little bit.
Nice. I'm assuming you have a few client horror stories, maybe, or just, I don't know, they can be tricky.
Like, not really. It's just that I guess my passion has always been to bring my own ideas to life. And so bringing other people's ideas to life doesn't interest me that much. It's nice and I do enjoy it occasionally, but I didn't want it to be my whole job. So I prefer it to just supplement what else I'm doing.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I get that. The being forced to make something that you don't necessarily feel like you're good at, or it doesn't align with how you normally practice, can be really not fun and jarring. So
I guess what I envision for something is not always what someone else envisions for it. So then I might end up creating something that I'm not even that happy with because that's what they wanted, which is totally fine, and that's just part of the course. But yeah, that's just what led me to do what I'm doing currently.
So thanks, Lauren. How did other people end up where they are?
For me, like after graduation, I plan to go back to Vietnam to be close with my family. But then COVID happened and I was like the lockdown, I couldn't return for like a year. So I decided to study another course in communication design for like 1 year. And in my final semester, I applied for jobs. And luckily, I got a role in motion by design. For me, like working freelance full time wasn't really an option because of my visa situation. So I was like searching for jobs, like apply for like 20 applications, like 20 places. And I was really lucky that I actually got a job before having to return home. Yeah, but for me, it was just like being proactive, like reaching out to people and applying and like improving my portfolio, and yeah, just reach out to people. That's how I got to my current position. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I remember your portfolio. So to think that you pushed it even further beyond that is crazy because it was so good. Are you happy with working at a company, or is it like maybe you're like, oh, maybe if my visa wasn't so annoying, you'd be more freelance, or I don't know.
I think like the ideal scenario for me would be like working at an agency like part-time for like 3 days or 4 days per week, and like the other days like work on my own art and doing freelance work, like creating things that I actually like. So that's like ideal scenario for me. But for now, like I'm still focusing on getting like permanent residency. So like the visa situation, it requires me to work full time, like 5 days a week. Yeah, so I think in the future, maybe in 1 or 2 years, I would do like work part time for 4 days at agencies and also freelancing in my own time. Yeah, that's my plan.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I hope I hope you can get permanency and then can do that because I don't think I'd be able to handle being like at an agency or a company for too long without being able to do my own stuff. So I get that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's stressful sometimes because you had to deal with clients. You have to understand them and what they're looking for. But also, like I'm surrounded with other creatives, people in like doing different skills. Like I have like next to me is like motion designer or like website designer, and I get to work with them. I get to learn a lot from them, and also like yeah, that's just improving my skill sets thanks to the team. Yeah, that's the upside.
Yeah, good connections. No, that's so cool. All right, Mitch or Gina, what'd you do to get here?
Do you
Do
want
you want to go, Mitch, or do you,
Okay. Yeah, I can go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, mine was a little bit different. I went to uni straight out of high school, and then I got really depressed, and I dropped out of uni. So that was my first uni experience. But that was the old course. It was very 3D focused. It was kind of just a pipeline to Rising Sun pictures, and 3D was not my jam at all. And then I didn't draw for a bit, but then I started doing workshops again, and I got some client gigs, and I had some exhibitions, and I just met lots of artists. And then, yeah, speaking of friends and my partner, I eventually went back to uni back in 2020 with Chi and Shay and Lauren. And yeah, it was great. I learned heaps, especially about I don't know, building a proper portfolio for work. And then I got a gig doing a TED animation, and then I got work on a TV show. And now I'm teaching the course I dropped out of, which is kind of cool. So yeah, it's not such a linear thing sometimes. Sometimes you kind of, you never know what life's going to throw at you, but just keeping at it and having a good support network was probably the biggest assets I had. Yeah.
Definitely. Because you're now wearing so many hats, how would you like those to be condensed down if they could, or are you happy with being so sporadic?
Um, well, I'm happy with being kind of jack of many trades. I'm not happy with a 7-day work week at the moment.
Yeah.
So I would say, yeah, yes. Gina's talked to me about this a few times. I would say learn to say no, which I'm still learning to do. It's just kind of how things have piled on and the timeline has been. So yes, I would say I would like to do less if possible. I'm doing my honours as well, which I'm usually an advocate for, but I'm in the questioning my life choices moment. Yeah, currently. But do lots of stuff, but don't look after yourself as well. Is my
Yeah.
advice. Yeah.
Good advice. All right, Gina, how'd you end up here?
I guess mine's probably one of the more curly paths to arts, in the sense that I have no formal training in either writing or arts. What did I do? Music. That's what I did. There we go. Great. I did music performance at uni, and I was going to be a music teacher. That was sort of the path I decided in high school that was going to be the way for me. And then I lost my love of music when I did the degree, and I couldn't bring myself to play anymore. So I didn't want to be a teacher who didn't love the thing that they were going to teach. So that's kind of, I had a lot of grief and having to deal with this was my identity for many, many years. And then I'm like, who am I now? Who knows? But I have always drawn. That's just the thing. That's how I sort of process the world, and have done comics particularly. And I did a comic for my final performance. I got through the uni degree eventually. Similar to Mitch, I probably shouldn't have dropped out necessarily. I'm glad I got through it, but I would have been a lot happier had I dropped out. In hindsight, but I got through it, and I did a little comic booklet for my final performance, so that just explaining all the pieces that I was performing and stuff, and everyone got one of those. And I was like, oh, that's right, I really love comics, and I haven't really been drawing heaps in these last 3 years while I've been doing the degree. So I started attending zine fairs and making more comics and doing those sort of things again more actively, instead of just noodling around in my sketchbooks. And from there, I started meeting other artists. I got a space at Tooth and Nail, which no longer exists, but was an arts studio space that had 40, 50 artists in there of all different types of art forms. It was very inspiring, and some of my best friends that I still have now I made during that time. And then, but so basically I just dabble at all the things all of the time. I had a cupcake business for a very short period of time. Fun fact, there you go. Called Holy Cakes Batman. It was not very good. And what else? Basically I did lots of little zines and DIY things, and then I started to be like, actually I really love doing this. How can I do it? And similar to Lauren, I did a lot of retail. I've only pretty much worked retail outside of art. So I've been fortunate that it's been mostly in bookstores and libraries, or like customer service roles in libraries. And I worked at the ABC for a short period of time, using my music degree to it the most that I could, which was working in the music library at the ABC, so cataloguing CDs. As I said, like, this is you promised you wanted tangents. I'm giving you tangents, my friend. And so like the whole time I've always been drawing. Like that's just the thing that I've always done. And when I say drawing, I kind of more mean like storytelling, but it just comes out in drawings for me. So I because of how my brain works. And so drawing for me is definitely just word processing, and it's something I can't not do. But then about 10 years ago, I probably started realizing how sad I was working in an office. Not coping, in hindsight, autism diagnosis, probably wasn't coping very well with a lot of sensory, social things. And I was coping, the only way I was coping was through making art. So I started to look at different ways that I could support that. And that for me was grants and scholarships. So using CartClue, which is the youth arts organisation. So if you're under 26, I highly recommend checking out any of CartClue's grant application. Yeah. And Mitch and I have met through a couple of things, but we've worked together a lot through CartClue. They support a lot of young artists, both making art, but also running workshops and sharing and networking, and they're a really good resource. And so, that's where I got my sort of first grant to work on the very first version of the graphic novel I have just officially sent off to a publisher. So that's sort of where it started, but there's obviously lots more curly bits and pathways and stuff. It's at all not linear. It all similar, I think, Shay, and a lot of people have already mentioned this, but Shay, you mentioned asking Mitch about like all these hats, like how to condense it. I think that's what the last sort of particularly 5 years have been. Like I had, I think at one point 2 retail jobs, running workshops, doing private teaching, running events and festivals, making my own comics all at the same time, and client work occasionally. And then I was just like looking at things and figuring out what I could say, what I wanted to say no to, and then trying to get over the guilt of like not taking on every single job. As a freelancer, it can feel like you have to take on absolutely every job. And just figuring out, like, initially, like, you take on everything, and then I'm like, okay, I need to take on only these things that are this amount of that, like, get me this amount of money for time. Of how long they're going to take. I found that was the first step, and then going, okay, this is the kind of work I want to take on, which is not client work, but I do like workshops. Figuring out what works for my brain, which doesn't take too much energy, so I can keep some of the energy for me, so I can make some things. It's nice to make stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm currently in that phase where it's like really early on. Well, not really early on, but like you've graduated and you're now starting to get that notice, and now everyone's like, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, and I'm like, okay, it's time to start thinking about how to say no. So how do you like figure out which ones you're going to say yes to, which ones you're going to say no to? Is it just a money thing, or is it I like this, so I'll say yes to this? Or do you have any other vetting things that you give to them? I don't know.
I have both. It's a flow chart, basically.
Yeah.
It's like, if it's something I don't like doing, it has to cost more money for the person. Like, as in, like, if it's client work, I would need to charge more. I feel comfortable charging more for client work, so client work's just completely out. So in my mind, I'm like, nope, I just don't say yes to that at all. Whereas with workshops, I know I feel comfortable charging appropriate amounts. I know how much energy it's going to take. I know what kind of time it is. I enjoy doing it. So for me, that's a lot easier to negotiate and manage. I do a lot of these. This is one of my little sketchbooks. It's like, where do I want to be? What do I want to do? And then after I do these, like, this is what my brain's like all the time. Ugh. So I have to get out on paper. Otherwise, my brain just explodes. But they're things, and they're not just comics things, it's just like general life things. So like, yeah. So for me, the gradual movement has been less client work, like Lauren was saying, like you want to make your own stuff that feels special to you and you have a connection to, not just being someone's pen for hire. If you can, or not, and not everyone. Like some people love being a pen for hire and they're really, really good at it. And I am not that person. I'm very stubborn, and I'm useless when it comes to that kind of work. But I love connecting to a work or projects or supporting other people to create work. So that's why I love running workshops and working with young people to help support them to make and tell their stories, because that's like it's the thing that's like what my brain constantly is wanting to do is like everyone should be able to do this thing, and I want to help them. Which is a skill in itself. So like that's where I have moved more towards those things. And then when it's my own personal work, ideally it'd be great to get paid appropriately for it, but
yeah.
And I'm lucky enough that I'm lucky enough that I can get generally paid okay for my comics work, but if you break down the hours, even with a fairly generous advance that I got from this particular book, which is never guaranteed in any future books anyway. Just because you've got one book deal doesn't mean you're going to get more book deals. You have to keep pitching, keep submitting. Cost of paper is rising. There's all these things that are coming into it, and comics are really expensive to print, and then they're so quick to read. So it's all this kind of like the business side of things that the publisher has to deal with, and then you as an artist who wants to create this thing, and then also has to be aware of what the publisher, who obviously cares about the project, but also they're a business. They need to not stop exist. They don't want to stop existing because they haven't done their business side right. So, and that's Sorry, I talked a lot.
That's what we want. You're all good. Yeah, no, that's really helpful. Figuring out how to navigate that. Or terrifying, but we'll get there one day. Yeah, really good question in the comments. It was kind of where I was about to tangent to, which I think Ethan might have just been about to jump to, kind of. If you want to go, Ethan.
Yeah, I was just going to say they've got a question in the chat from High Speed Rail. They're asking, wondering is someone currently studying in uni at the moment, illustration and animation, how do they get noticed once you graduate?
I was gonna kind of link that because I
The
think
name's Troy.
I think all of you guys kind of mentioned the importance of like having a kind of community or like reaching out to people. Like Lauren, you met people. Have you met Charlie? You rapidly applied to heaps of people. Mitch and Gina have also got connections. So it's like, how do you build that connection of people that can get you places once you graduate? Yeah, I don't know if anyone has any insight on that.
I feel like community very quickly became something that was a lot more important to me than I thought it would be. I've met people through jobs. I've met people through, I have a studio at the Mill as well in Adelaide on Angus Street, which is like a similar arts community. There's like 75 artist studios of all different artists. So I've met people there, and I've met people through doing markets as well. And just generally chatting to people and getting to know other people's journeys, you get to learn what's out there and what sort of opportunities are out there. And also through those connections is where I also feel like I find the most encouragement. Like those are the people that keep me going when it gets hard and when it doesn't seem possible. The other thing is just submit to everything. So many opportunities that have happened, that have come up for me, are just because I saw something and decided to submit to it, even if I didn't feel like I was worthy of it. Frankie magazine did like an open call for Australian artists, and I was like, I'll just send them my portfolio, I guess. And I did. And then they wrote an article on me. And I've done some work for other magazines as well, just because I just cold emailed them and sent them work. And even if it took months, they got back to me. So just randomly email people and just send people your portfolio. Anyone, any magazine, or just just whatever is going to suit your work. If you feel like your work suits it and it's something you really want, even if it feels out of reach or not possible, just send them an email, because you never know what could happen.
Yeah, no, that's good advice. Yeah. Go, Mitch.
So I'm just going to mimic pretty much everything Lauren said. General advice and animation advice as well, if that's something you're wanting. Networking, knowing people. I hate networking, social anxiety and all that stuff, but it is really important. I would say there's this book I have called Creative Pep Talk. It's of this podcast. I'm not a podcast person, but I like the artist. And there's this page and it says, make friends, not networks. And I think that is the main thing. What you were saying about community. Workshops have helped with this. Zine fairs have helped heaps with this. Even if you're not tabling, just going around and meeting people and talking to them. My biggest one as well, I think this is general advice, but it's one of the best I can give, is don't be a dick. If you're like mean or rude, I think it should be like being nice should be one of the tenets of your life anyway, but it gets around really fast if you're not a nice person within artist circles. So just be nice to clients and other artists, as well as just like cold calling and emailing. If you have a show reel or portfolio, keep sending it to studios every few months, just so your name, and make sure you update it and it's something you want to send out, but having your name in the top of their mind, if they need someone to go to, or they may even need a last minute in betweener or something, your name will be there. So I think that's where my tangent was leading to. But network, but more so community and friends are great. Do it through workshops. Be nice. Cool.
Can I add a little extra thing there? Or just like, again, I agree absolutely with both what Mitch and Lauren said. And particularly with Lauren was specifically saying, like, if this thing suits your style or what you want to be doing, I think is a really important thing. Like, I think you should send to as many people as possible, as long as it's like what you want to be doing or what you feel like your thing fits into. Because if you just send it to everything, like, a horror magazine, if I sent anything to a horror magazine, what? For those who have seen, I'm basically my comics, so like colourful and cartoony, so it's not going to work for horror. I have tried to write a sexy comic once and it did not work. For example, when I was early on, I was like, I'm going to apply to all these anthologies and write a thing, and it was just very twee and I couldn't deal with it. It wasn't for me. But that was a really good lesson for me to learn, of like, that's fun, I can play with that in my own time, but it's maybe not the right thing for where my work is leading to. And people will judge your work as well, even if it's like you should fight for what you think your work should be and in where it sits in the world, for sure. But for example, the first feedback I got on the book when I originally submitted it to publishers for just like getting them to pick it up, so like just the submission sort of stage, every single editor from all the different publishers, and I think it was like 15 different publishing houses, almost 100% of them were like, we love what you're doing, however, your art style looks like it's for children, and your writing style looks like you're not writing, not that it was particularly adult, but I was writing from an adult point of view, looking back at my childhood. So there was like me as an adult framing flashback sequences to me as a kid. It's a memoir. Sorry, I didn't actually explain what the book's about. It's a memoir. So what every single publisher was like, because you're so cartoony, no adult will read that, which I disagree with. However, it is what the publishing industry is clearly a standard within the publishing industry. So people will assume things about you, and you should also be confident enough to like push them back on that if that's something you need to push back on. But you should also be confident to know like where you want to be taking it, and you're allowed to change. You don't have to stay the same as well. Like, it doesn't have to be exactly the same. So that was one thing, and Lauren made some really good points about that. So I just wanted to jump, like it made me think about that. And then from a person who has not studied at uni, I obviously didn't necessarily meet a lot of people. Like, I was lucky enough to be part of an art studio, which had lots of different artists of different types, but no one else was really making comics at the time that I was there. And so I didn't really know where to meet other comics people, but like going to zine fairs and like Lauren, again, what Lauren was saying, like attending markets, putting yourself out there, people slowly started recognizing me and would like come back if you do the same markets over and over again. They'll what people like maybe pick something up and they're, oh, this is really good. They'll come back next time. And having a website I find really, really, really helpful as opposed to just social media presence. One, because I love to be able to be in control and I can do all the things that I want it to look like. But it also feels like a very professional portfolio. I have a contact form on there, so I get a lot of people requesting information about commissions and things, and you can put all that information up there. So it has that like you can get all that ready to go. And I know that's not everyone's cup of tea. Just hire me to like do all the organizing. That's my bag. I love organizing things. But I found it very useful because then once it's all set up, then I don't have to upkeep it like social media constantly with content every day or whatever. Anyway, sorry. Please just tell me to shut up. I know I will keep rambling.
That's fine. That's fine. I was going to say, Chi, do you have any input into how you went about after uni, sending out all those applications, rejections, how, what you went through that process?
Yeah, I think I agree with the guys. For me, I think going to events, talking to people, that's really important. For example, like for Troy to jump in and ask questions and introduce yourself, I think that's like a big plus because we all here are gonna remember you. Yeah, so is that just being like proactive and introduce yourself, talk to people, and yeah, that's important. Yeah.
So we do have some more questions if we'd like to go through them. Another Kira says, oh, sorry, Anna, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to know if you guys have any advice for introverts, people that are not willing to, or not willing because it's difficult for them or for us to just go and grab someone and say, "Hey, I admire you so much." Yeah, any advice? Because maybe
You go first, Lauren.
That's definitely me. I'm a very introverted person. I hate starting conversations with people. Big social anxiety. But I feel like once I started doing markets and was just around all these people who were doing the same thing as me and who I just felt really welcomed into the community. I felt like I belonged. And it was really easy to just start a conversation with my stall neighbour. Like I didn't necessarily venture around the market and go and just introduce myself to people, but I would chat to the person next to me and then they would introduce me to someone else. And then you just sort of start small and then it becomes way easier to start conversations with other people. I feel like I start conversations way easier now than I was like a year ago. I would just like stand at my stall and not talk to a single soul. But now I'll quite happily talk to more people. So you just have to start small, and the more you do something that makes you anxious, the easier it'll become. And the more you feel like you belong and the more you get used to it, it also becomes easier as well. That's my experience.
I have something to say, but I also don't want to jump in if anyone else wants to, because I feel like we're probably
I just
all
had a
introverts.
small one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have mad social anxiety, even though I do workshops and talks and all this kinds of stuff. But I think in terms of this field, especially in animation illustration, especially at zine fairs, once you kind of realize everyone is just a big nerd, kind of like yourself, it makes it a lot easier to just go up and kind of introduce yourself, because you'll most likely have a common ground of a comic or an animation or something you like, or like Lauren, like an artist or something like that, or local works or whatever. So it, like, hate networking as important as it is, but you just have to like really step outside of your comfort zone a bit, and realize that most people are just nice people, and they'll appreciate you saying they like their work and all that stuff. Yeah.
Chi, did you want to say anything? I don't want to.
I totally agree with Mitch. Just to like push the boundary and get out of the comfort zone. I was also like very introverted person. I think I still am, and like sometimes like social anxiety hits. But I think understand that most people are also like me. Like they're also like not very social and they're like introverted. But so yeah, it's like once I understand that, like I feel more comfortable talking to people because I know that not everyone has everything like sorted out, and everyone is like going through what I'm feeling right now. Yeah, so like just me like pushing through and pushing the boundaries. Yeah, like not pushing boundaries, but like getting out of my comfort zone. Yeah, that's all.
That's great. I will have some words that I will say. So I think for me, similar to everyone else, introverted, despite what you might think from if this is the only experience of me you've ever had. But similar to Mitch and Lauren and everyone, like doing markets and being and doing workshops and doing retail work as well. But I think the thing is, I also hate initiating conversations. But if I'm in a position of a role, that really works for my brain. So like in retail, it's like, hey, how are you doing? Can I help you? That's what you're there for. Same with markets and same with workshops. I can prepare, I can practice what I'm going to say. And things like that. But it's also, all of those things are very draining. So the big thing for me was making sure that I gave myself warm-up time, as in like, warm-up time is the wrong word, rest time beforehand and rest time afterwards. And that's really important. So like, because you are going to almost certainly be pushing yourself out of your own comfort zone and working really hard, it can be, you can forget how much energy you need for those things. So I think making sure if you're an introvert, you need to give yourself that introvert time as well in whatever works for you. And I think the thing for me is that I hate, despite running a festival, I hate big events. So I think what really helped, particularly early on for me, was like reaching out to individual people, messaging them in the communication styles that worked best for me and hopefully for them. And the people I connect with the most are the ones that also have the similar communication style. So like if they're happy for me to reach out on Instagram and I just go, hey, I really like your stuff. I read this mini comic you did. It's so good. I really connected to it because of these reasons, blah, blah, blah. Or like some of my good friends now, I'll be like, I see you're coming to this zine fair. I really love your work. Would you be up for getting a coffee after the zine fair? Or like on the next day, are you still in town? Like if we're in different states, particularly because Australia is so wide and spread. So we don't always get to meet all the cool people in all the different states. And so I think that for me was something that I found more easy. Like at markets and stuff, I can get through them and I can talk to all the people, but I can't necessarily do the socializing with other artists as much because my energy is all going towards working on the market, and the same with the workshop. Whereas individual chats, I think, are much more in line with how my brain works, and that develops those relationships in a safer and more engaged sort of environment for me. So finding those right ones, the right way and some people really work. Like I know a lot of artists who like, they thrive on being in the center of all the busyness, and that's what really works for them. And they feel really connected and can get really lonely at home, even though obviously a lot of us like to have that downtime and focus to create our craft. But yeah, I think that helps. Sorry, I went rambly again.
No, you're all good.
That's good.
Yeah. Before we jump into Kura's question, because I think that this bounces into Kura's question, you're all mentioning sending your portfolios out to people, as we should do, but what if I think my portfolio is bad? How do you navigate that like feeling of I don't have enough in my portfolio is not good enough? Should I just sit down and keep working, or should I still send it anyway? Like, any advice on that front?
I feel
think
like
imposter. Sorry.
no, you go
first. Imposter syndrome is like very is very common in our industry.
Sorry, that was meant to be Chi. Go for it, Chi.
No, sorry.
You're good.
Okay. I think imposter syndrome is like very common in our industry. Like almost like all artists feel like, oh, we're not good enough. We're not as good as other people. We're just like constantly comparing ourselves to the others. I think like we also need to like take some time to like reflect on our work, and like I think like see it like from like third person view, but also like not to be like too harsh and judgmental on our own works. Like we can also reach out to other artists with similar styles to like give feedback, and just not to be like too judgmental and critical on our own work. Like we're all creative in our own different ways, so yeah, just not to be so harsh on yourself.
Mitch?
Or Mitch and Lauren, you go.
I feel like for me, I waited way too long before I did anything with my art. When I finished uni, I like had an identity crisis where I didn't know what work I wanted to create that was just my personal work, because throughout my education I just like everything was for a brief, and I had no idea what my personal voice was really in my own work. So it took me a while before I actually even like developed an art style or even knew what I wanted to create. But once I did, I spent a really long time just working personally before I even started selling it or even started doing markets. Like I started doing markets after I had built up really quite a large range of products, and after I started I was like, oh, I didn't have to wait this long. Like I could have been doing this at least 6 months ago. So I feel like I was very critical of my work and was like, I don't have enough yet. I'm not good enough yet for ages. But then once I started, I was like, oh, well, I was good enough and I could have been doing this for ages. But I feel like if you work on creating work that feels really true to you and feels really good to you, then you'll feel good about sharing it and putting it out there. My one piece of advice is that I always tell people is to not try and cater your work to any specific thing. Make what is true to you, and then you'll feel more comfortable with it and you'll feel happy with it and with sharing it. If you're trying to be like, oh, I want to make work like this person or I like this person's work, you need to separate admiring someone else's work and the work that you want to create, because you don't have to make stuff that is the same as the work that you admire. Those can be two separate things. And once you are in a space of really creating work that feels true to you, I believe that you'll feel good about sharing it and putting it out there. That felt like a bit of a tangent and went off topic, but that's fine.
That was helpful.
Great.
That was really good. Yeah.
So good.
All right, go Mitch.
What was the question again?
Just
because I have all these ideas from what Chi and Lauren was said, and now I forgot what the question was.
Got to send your portfolios out to people, but you think your portfolio is bad or not,
Yes.
doesn't have enough, or what do you do?
I want to. The first thing she said was, "Don't be so hard on yourself." We kind of all do have imposter syndrome, and that kind of ebbs and wanes, or whatever you call it. But sometimes it's really big. Send your work to artist friends, artists you admire, but also professional artists if you can get that. Like, if you have any link, even tutors or even friends of your uni tutors, utilize us as well, because we usually have networks that we can send your portfolio to, or your showreel. If you do feel like it's lacking in some things, and you're kind of looking at this objectively rather than just like, oh, my art's terrible and I can't send it to anyone, then look at what to improve. If it's your anatomy, if it's your background work, if it's your comics or your realism or whatever, then you have an area to improve on. I'd also cater to your either showreel or portfolio to the job that you're applying for. I think Lauren or Gina said that's Chi or someone, but if you want to do motion graphics, do motion graphics. If you want to do effects work, then have a showreel of effects stuff mostly. If you're looking for TV show stuff, then you want to do like lip sync and character acting and walk cycles. But yeah, don't just try not to be so hard on yourself and not put it out there, because like Lauren said, you're missing the opportunities that you don't take. So get our opinions and to reassure yourself, and then work on areas you feel you're lacking in. Yeah.
I'll just add a little thing. I promise it'll be very quick, I hope. You should definitely take advantage of the people that you know and ask for those things, but be mindful that they are very busy people that are probably working for very little money or for no money. So when you reach out to artists of any, like if you're like reaching out to particularly artists that you admire and you see them as like, oh, they're a working artist, they probably don't have a lot of time, as you probably don't either. So like just thinking about how you would like to be reached out if someone, people, you know, they might not get back to you straight away. They probably want to get back to you, but you know, they're having to chase down this paid gig so they can pay the rent and do the things. So yeah, I think that's just a thing to be mindful of. I think when I reached out, I hope I always, when I was particularly initially, like when I reach out to people, I try to be like, oh, I know you're really cool and busy, but I have a question if you have time. So yeah, just be mindful of that as much as possible. And I think that is something to think about, particularly as we're talking about money and how, because a lot of us are freelancers and don't have like a salary where we have like sick leave and paid holiday leave and all these sort of things. Yeah, it's something to consider for yourself as well if you're going to be going into that career, and how you're going to tackle those sort of things. And like, how much time are you going to be putting into that, and what does that take away from your practice as well? So that's just like a little thing, I guess. And I don't really have much to add about portfolio specific, because I just make stuff and then I put it up, and if I like it, it's great. It's not a really good advice. I've read a lot about portfolios, and I don't think I pay attention to any of it. It's like, don't put up too much, and make sure it all looks consistent, and it's like how you want to, which I agree, it sounds like a great idea, but I'm like, here's the thing that I do. I'm trying to put I've got all my hair flick videos up on my website now. I'm going to have some snack club reviews soon. I'm going to put up I just like putting up things. It's fun. But yeah, that's what I like to do. So don't listen to my advice. Terrible portfolio advice.
That was an excellent point about making sure artists, yeah, definitely that. Start in your circle first, yes. And also, and I had a point, and it was just there on the tip of my tongue. Start in your circle. Oh, and just, be aware that not every artist can do it. Like, be prepared for rejection and stuff like that, because artists are very busy. And
they might not be rejecting you. It's not personal necessarily.
Yes.
It's like, oh, I would love to do this, however, right now I can't. And it's never going to be just like them. Usually people aren't a dick, and they're not going to be like, oh, I don't want to help you. If they are, then that's their problem. But generally people want to help out others, and I think that's a healthy thing for our industry.
Yes.
We need more of that. But just, being mindful and careful. Sorry.
100%. No, exactly, because it's not rejection for you, it's a rejection for the time or whatever. Like, you are as it's hard to separate this, but you are not your art, as much as sometimes it's easy to get in your head about that, because I believe it too sometimes. And just one last thing. It's just there. Look at other artists that you admire and what their showreel and portfolios are, especially for showreels. If that's a job that you want to get, like a similar gig that they have, then see what they're putting in their showreels and portfolios, because that will help you get the job.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually, because I stalk other artists all the time.
Yes, hell yeah.
I go onto their websites, I look what their work is, I see what events they're doing, I see what stockists they have. Like, because I'm in the process of trying to get my work stocked in different shops. So I'm always looking at other artists and stalking their stockist lists so I can figure out who to email. Like, just see what other people are doing.
Yeah, and there's lots of that kind of stuff you can do without even reaching out specifically to people. Like, you can just see what they're doing, and then that's helpful as well. So like that. There's a lot of artists that share information about what they're doing just like on their blogs or their social media. And so looking out, doing that research first before you then reach out to someone saying, actually, you're really cool. I want more from you. Tell me all the things, please. I'll buy you a coffee. Like, yeah.
Cool. So on that point, I'll get to some of these questions. If we don't get time for all the questions, everyone, I'm sorry, but these conversations
we're
are taking
professional yappers and professional
their own
artists.
turn. Yeah. But we're
I
getting
think
some
we've
good
also
stuff
covered
anyway.
a few of the things already
Yeah.
through
thought
this
that might
conversation.
happen.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's great.
But Kira said here on the portfolio side of things, when you were first starting out, how did you respond to clients who wanted to hire you but were offering to pay you in just exposure and portfolio building? I think that's a quick answer from all of you.
Don't
Just
do
don't
it.
know.
Most people
Is
The
there a
only work I
reason?
would do for free is if it's something that lines up with my values and that I know that they have no money for it. And that it's very limited as well. Depends on if it's an individual. If it's my mum asking me something, I will draw anything my mum asks me to do, for example. But if it's an organization that I know has a budget or something, of course I'm going to, like, I might not charge the highest rate if they're a organization, like a charity organization, or, you know, something that is in line with my values, because I want to be able to help support that cause in a particular way. And for me, that's drawing, because that's the thing I can do. Whereas if it's like a big institution, no, you have money and you may pay me appropriately, please. The end. Sorry. End of rant.
I feel like
Fully
my
agreed.
response to anything I don't want to do is just like, no, sorry, I don't have the capacity to take that on. And it doesn't have to be long.
No.
If there is something like a competition or whatever, make sure you benefit from it as well, and that read the terms and conditions to make sure they're just not going to take your work and use it anyway. But if it's something that would look great on your portfolio and that all seems legit and you're going to gain something from it as well, sure. But free work and exposure, hell no.
Yeah, big no. Seems like a big red flag to me.
Yeah.
Pay you and just exposure is like, no, like you're creating values for them. Like you need to get paid. Yeah. Yeah. Big no.
Yeah.
Great. Love the answers. We've got Osman here with another question about workshops specifically. A lot of you mentioned that you run workshops, being that's a great way to connect with other people and younger artists. They're just asking how you started that, setting it up, any guidance for getting into that world. Oops.
Well, that was kind of my break was workshops. I did a workshop, attended a workshop for Kaklu when I was 17, animation, and then they hired me after that because they needed someone to do animation stuff. And through that, I met lots of artists. And then this is also a great networking / friends community thing. Once you meet more artists and they know you can do this, this, and this, then they will offer jobs that they can't do. And I do it as well. If I get like, say, a comics thing, I'll pass it on to Gina, or a workshop thing or whatever. You kind of pass on, if you have too much to do, you kind of pass on the jobs to other people. With workshops specifically, if you're wanting to start out, knowing someone that runs them, if they have a friend that runs them, you can ask them questions. But also, just going to city councils and libraries and things is a good place to start, especially if you know a contact there, because they're usually looking for someone to run a teens art workshop or a D&D session, or how to create a character or something like that. And generally they pay pretty good. Yeah.
Does anyone else run workshops before I go on my ramble rage? Yeah, okay. I love workshops as well, and Mitch and I have done quite a few together, and it's mostly, I guess, how we've become friends over things. You know, I would say so. And yeah, so everything Mitch said, 100%. It's great for finding out what other people do, learning how they run workshops, and then it can feed back into your own workshops, whether it's in like even if it's a completely different art style, it's like their teaching style or how they negotiate tricky behavioral stuff during workshops, because there's a lot of different non-arty things that you have to think about when it comes to running workshops. So it's a lot of admin and emails and invoicing and follow-ups and planning, all the stuff I love. And I particularly I love making I love making worksheets and things like that. That's all the things that I really, really enjoy, is like figuring out how to teach particularly comics and art from my point of view to lots of different people, and how to help them connect the dots to like get them engaged. From a practical point of view, similar to what Mitch was saying, just reaching out to things. Initially, Greenlight Comics, when they're in their own old location, this is pre-COVID, I think 2018 is when I started it. I started a thing called Inky Fingers Comics Gang, and I was, I kind of knew the guys that ran it, that run Greenlight, and I was like, hey, you've got an event space. Can I run kids' workshops here? And then sort of from there, I did that for a few years with them. I was able to negotiate a percentage, like I'd pay them a small percentage so I wasn't losing too much money. And like, so there's a lot of like figuring out money stuff and like what's worth your time, and like from a practical business point of view. But generally I find workshops, the amount of time that particularly once you've got like a couple of workshops under your belt that you know and you can run sort of without thinking about it, and everything's prepped and ready to go, and if you're happy to repeat the same thing over and over again. Some people don't want to do that, which is absolutely fine and makes sense, but from a money making point of view, I would say that's the best way to make money from workshops, is being able to do repeatable workshops that you can then take to lots of different locations, because then you're not having to create new work every single time that you're running a workshop. And then you can use them in and like you're not working with the same kids every time, obviously, and you still have like what happens in the workshop might be a little bit different each time, but you know the structure and you're not thinking about that. So that saves time once you've got those things, and then you can start pitching it to other locations. And that's sort of what I did after COVID we started coming out of COVID. I was able to pitch it to Adelaide City Library and then Noarlunga Library, and I knew someone who was there, and so from there I was able to pitch other workshops that were similar but for older kids, once I've built up like a relationship of working with certain kids for many years, things like that. So there's lots of different, and you can do one-off ones in schools, and knowing like how to show what you want to do and which sort of section of the community you want to work with as well. So like I work with young people, usually 8 to 12-year-olds is my like peak spot, just because they're old enough to engage with comics but not too old to be cool, and I'm terrified of teens. Teens, there's some lovely teens out there. But working with queer organizations is something that I'm really passionate about, as well as working with neurodivergent organizations. So they're the things that I love to do, but then there's lots of other different organizations and councils and things like that you can look into doing things with, and often they'll have councils will be looking for stuff as well, so they might have opportunities like, is this your first time running a workshop? Try it here and learn how to do it, or things like that. So signing up to lots of newsletters for opportunities is really good for that kind of stuff. Sorry, I can hear it. I can hear my voice rambling.
Thanks.
No, you've been good.
Also, just wanted to say, it all kinds of people run workshops, because I, on the other hand, hate organisation and all that stuff, and I'm terrible at it. But
They're great on the day.
Well, sometimes. I kind of like, I feel like I'm pretty good with stuff changing on the fly or all of that. You get all kinds of participants in workshops, and the more you can do them and get exposed to, I don't know, all kinds of kids and neurodivergence and all that, you just work out what to do, and then you're like, awesome, like I know how, like, all different kinds of needs and what you need help with and how to help you and all that stuff. So the more you do it, you just build up more experience. And I forgot where I was going this, but workshops are great. Yes, Gina.
So we've both talked mostly about working with young people, however, and I have done some adult workshops, but not really, and that's something I'm hoping to move into in some ways. But you actually do work with adults right now in a university style. So like, what's the difference? How do you find the difference of being like a university lecture versus like a fun one-off workshop, or like, because that would be quite a different teaching style. And
Yes.
do you find that a useful, like, does it fit into your practice easily? Like, is that something that you would advocate other people to maybe like follow as a pathway to support their arts practice?
Yeah. I actually really love uni teaching. It's definitely a different structure. When I'm teaching kids workshops, there's heaps of wild stuff that can happen. You just kind of need to learn to do stuff on the fly, but I kind of enjoy that sometimes. Uni is much more structured. You have your lesson plans and stuff like that. Still, there's some stuff like Shay and Anna would know. I still usually plan animation design at least somewhat because it's just so much to cover. But yeah, especially with third years as well, like giving feedback and seeing their growth and their portfolios just kind of get bigger and bigger. Yeah, I really enjoy both. I would advocate, if you enjoy teaching and education and working with other people, tutoring's great. Yeah, both are great in different ways. Yeah.
Thanks.
We have hit
We've
6.
got two.
Do you guys want
Yeah,
to keep
go for it.
going, or do you need to head off?
I'm okay, but
I'm okay too.
Okay.
I can continue.
I was gonna say,
for
I
a bit
think
longer.
most. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm done.
Well, I was gonna say, I think most of the questions have been answered. The last question I think is still yet to be kind of touched on is kind of a prevalent theme throughout, and it's mostly, I think, pointed to Mitch, and it's about breaking into the animation industry. I know you've touched on it, but like as coming out of uni and going, okay, everyone wants an expert, like senior level animator. How do I get in there? What do I do? What are your thoughts on that, I suppose?
It's hard. That's my main thought. Like knowing people, and again, definitely what I said about catering your showreel to the gig that you want to get. Knowing people as well. It took me a while. Like I think knowing people. I got my first gig through Lisa Virtues, my good friend Lisa. Yes. Who I did a TED Ed thing with, and it was great. And then I've only worked on 2 seasons of a TV show, but that was also great. Amazing fellow animators. They were all great. It's mostly like having a showreel that will have the right stuff in it. So like good lip sync, good walk cycles, things like that. And then really putting your portfolio your showreel out to as many studios as you can that are hiring, sometimes even if they're not as well, and keeping an updated showreel. And when you update it, you don't want to be sending it out every few weeks, but every few months, if you update your showreel with something important, keep putting it out there. It is, and just be ready for rejection is the main thing. Grants, applications, job stuff, that's just part of it. I'm sure you'll deal with the same stuff. Just be ready for a rejection, and you kind of get used to it, and you have to know that it's not a rejection of you. It's just they're not, that portfolio or whatever isn't ready, or it's not right for the gig. Yeah, I think it's just like relevant showreel. Get people to look at your showreel. Be ready for rejection and be persistent is the main things. And again, don't be an asshole. Be nice. That's the more you know other people and know other animators and stuff, and they can see your work, the more likely they are to recommend you or be in the minds of studio heads and stuff. I hope that helped.
On that topic, I know companies like Monkey Stack allow you to upload your showreel, like send it to them via their website. So have a look at the different animation companies and see where you can do that. You don't necessarily have to blind email as much. Still blind email, but some do that.
Yeah, that's a great point, Shade. There might be others that do that as well, because that's better than just completely blindly. Yeah.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Sorry, it's just the screen went crazy. Also, if you could create something like a little story, animated story, everyone is frozen for some reason. But I'm not sure if you're listening.
It's probably
We can
your
hear you.
internet.
That's
You're all
also
good.
very good. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
So yes, studios are looking for your skills, yes, but also how good a storyteller you are, and sometimes putting your little stories, short stories, animated somewhere that can get you noticed as well. So I just wanted to add that.
That's a great point.
Is there like is there a good spot for posting short animated stories that you might create? Like, is it social media? Is it putting it on a website? Is there nothing?
Yeah.
Is this something we should be developing?
Social media, yeah, social media is
Yeah.
good. There are places in which they are looking for animations, and also like Loop the Loop. We also have in the future something for Upcon. Yes, guys,
Yes.
if you're looking for little animations, there are plenty of things around. But the people that I've seen that get their jobs through just by exposing themselves, they do that in social media. Very short things.
And this is something I don't have experience with, but Anna does, is apply for film festivals as well. If you have a short animation, get your work out there that way.
Yes. Ideally, if you know each other once you finish uni and you've been able to work with each other and know each other's strengths, you could work together to create a beautiful short film and get it out there. I'd be happy to help for sure.
Yeah, that would be rad.
Mentor, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Are there any other questions from the community?
She's frozen.
Oh,
no.
wait, I'm dying.
Oh,
Oh, I'm back. Haha.
Hooray.
Are there any other questions from anyone in the audience? I can think of a handful more, but I'm like, will I ask? Maybe we should wait for other people to ask.
I was going to say, if not, we have the whole Discord and a whole big community that you can ask questions in at any time. Osman asks if anyone wants to meet for coffee. Yeah, people are always around. I would say you can probably ask the people here questions on their socials, but I think everyone here is busy. So I would maybe suggest throwing it here instead, and then if they have time, they can jump in and answer. Or there's heaps of other people that can also jump in and answer. But yes, that's really great.
So I guess my final
Send me an email.
yeah.
I don't look on social media. Send me an email.
Good point.
That's my request.
I reply to messages all the time on social media, and people always ask me questions. So happy to have more.
Good to know. So I guess my absolute final question to wrap it all up, because we got a network. Where do you guys go to network? And there's a very obvious answer to this one, but you can give more than just the obvious answer.
Have you heard of this thing called Squish Squash?
Whoa. But no, there's things like loop-de-loops, market festivals, doing like little
Paper Cuts Comics
drawing
Festival.
paper
Pizza
I was about
cuts.
to say paper
Yeah,
cuts.
whoa.
Yeah, so cool.
Literally, like any event that brings together people in the creative arts.
Yeah,
Exhibition openings,
definitely.
like film festivals, studios, market, like literally anything, just any event where there's going to be a group of creative people. You never know who you'll meet.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, it can help with if you go with a creative friend as well, because then you feel
That's
more
what I was
like I'll be going with Gina on
That's
Friday to
right.
Ruby's. You feel more confident if you go with a friend. You have a backup. You have someone, if you're feeling anxious, you can talk to or leave. But then you have a chance, as hard as it is, and I know it sucks, to like maybe see an artist you like or talk to someone as well.
Yeah, I was exactly going to say what Mitch said because Mitch is one of my art buddies where we go to art shows together. So that's 100% recommend finding the right like safety net friend who understands what you need out of particularly if you, like me, I hate sounds and lots of people. That's a lot of events. So finding the right person that knows when you might need a break, or you might need to do like only stay for a short period of time, but just being there and being part of it, as I think Lauren was saying earlier, is like it gets easier. Even if it's still hard, it does get a little bit easier as you practice it. And then people see you and they go, "Oh, that's that person that does that thing," and then they do it, and then you might make a cool new friend.
Yep.
I also have one last question. Where can everyone find you guys?
Whoa.
Where can we look at your stuff?
My Instagram is Lauren Kathleen with an underscore at the end, and my website is just laurenkathleen.com.au, or you can Google Lauren Kathleen illustration.
Whoa.
Text.
Gina, go next.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. George Rex Comics. Confusingly, I have a million names. So if you just do George Rex Comics everywhere, but my website is the thing I care about the most. So go to that one. I don't post on Instagram very much anymore. It's just there as a landing page to come to the wonder that is my website. The end.
Right, go Mitch.
Mitchhearn.com, or I'm Mitchographer on Instagram. And Twitter is kind of dead now, so it's just those two things.
And Chi.
I'm not very active on Instagram, but I think I'll type in the chat. So my Instagram is chidang_, and my website is chidang portfolio or something. Yeah, I'll just write it in the group chat.
Okay, thanks, Chi. Alright. Well, thank you guys so much for agreeing to come and chat with us. It's been really good. I think there's been a lot of really good advice, so I really appreciate it. But yeah, as was said earlier to anyone watching, if you have any other questions or we didn't get to a question and you still want to keep going, as the panelists have said, you can reach out to them or you can chuck it in somewhere in the Discord. Someone will respond, probably me, but someone else might respond. Whoa. But yeah, thanks all for coming along. Really quickly, things coming up for Squish Squash, in case you missed it. I've got an animation showcase. Send your animations. Make sure you read the requirements that are on the actual image that's on the Instagram and in the Discord. That'll be really good, and you can submit whatever you want as long as it's family friendly. And then the second one is stay tuned, because we might be getting ready to tell you what the next exhibition is going to be. So watch out for that. It'll be really good. But yeah, I don't know. Thank you all for coming.
Can I? Oh, I just.
Go for it.
Can I? Add a
Yes,
thing?
go.
Sorry. I forgot. With my paper cuts hat on. So I run a comics festival called Paper Cuts Comics Festival with my partner Owen. It's happening again this year, September 12th to the 14th. It's and we've got lots of wonderful people that will have market stalls, and all the events are free. There's artist talks, there's live comic readings, all the things. Please come. However, would you like to be paid to make comics? You have until late this evening. I'm not exactly sure when the contact form closes, but today is the last day to apply. Thank you, Ethan. And if you go to the website, which Ethan has just popped in the chat, that on the front page there, it has a link to apply. And so it's for Talking Pictures, which is a live comics reading, about 5 to 10 minutes. With Mitch has done one. Anna, who was here previously, has also done one. They were amazing. Mitch can say how great it was, right? This is where
it was actually amazing, and like got heaps of good feedback and connections from it. Gina doesn't pay me to say this. It was actually great, and it is my favorite Paper Cuts event of the whole thing, legitimately.
I technically did pay you to say that, in the sense that we paid you to make the comic.
Yeah.
So,
and you get paid. It's not exposure. So
yeah. So if you want to get paid to make a comic, we would love to pay you to make a comic. The theme is nature, and you can take it in any way you like. We've had some applications already, and there's up to 3 spots that will be filling. So and it has to be South Australian only. Sorry for non-South Australian folks, but if you're essay based, we'd love to hear from you. And Owen, my co-director, would love if anyone has a comedy pitch. He's really wanting someone to do a funny story. So just so you know, that's the hot tip.
Love Paper Cuts. Everyone should go to Paper Cuts. Best market.
Please and thank you.
Yes. All right. But no, I think that's it. Unless someone else wants to plug something. Nope. Okay, cool. Otherwise,
Thanks, Squish Squash.
yes, thanks all for
Thank you,
coming
Squish Squash.
along.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, team.
All right. See ya.